All right, what's good, everybody? This is Boxingwave, and we're back with another breakdown for the biggest fight of the year. At least this is what the promoters are saying. Tank Davis, Ryan Garcia is finally going down. It's going to be this week and this Saturday on Showtime pay-per-view. It's going to be $84.99 for the pay-per-view, and I believe it starts at 8 p.m. Eastern. All right. So we're gonna do the breakdown. We're gonna talk about everything with these two. I'm gonna keep it as fair and neutral as possible, and then at the very end of the video, I'm gonna give you my prediction. All right. Just real quick, if you are new to the channel, please hit that subscribe button right now, and if you do like the content, smash that like button for me. All right. All right. So Tank Davis, Ryan Garcia. I don't believe there's any belt on the line for this one. Maybe the WBA title that Tank had held, but I'm not sure if that's going to be on the line because Ryan Garcia, this fight is going to be at a catch weight of 136, right? And I believe there's no, I mean, I checked box rec. I don't believe there's any WBA title on the line. I know Tank is the WBA junior WBA champ or the regular WBA champ. Devin Haney holds all 4 titles at the division, including the WBA title. So I don't think there's a title on the line. According to BoxRec, there isn't. It wouldn't make sense for there to be a title on the line, being that Ryan Garcia is at a catch weight of 136. All right. So, and let me just explain too. Ryan Garcia, he's fought above 135 in his 2 fights that he's had since he's returned to boxing. All right, in 2021, he fought Luke Campbell. All right, beat him early in the year, like January. All right, that fight was at lightweight. All right, that was his first big step up, and he beat Luke Campbell. He stopped him, and after that, he took a mental health break. Right, comes back a little over a year later, which was in 2022 for Emmanuel Tago, which was above the 135 weight limit as well, and then he fought who did he fight? Javier Fortuna in his most recent fight, which was last July. And that fight was at 140. All right. Now, in 2023, he's coming back down to fight Tank at 136. Not 135, but at 136 catch weight. And there's also a rehydration clause, which means on the day of the fight, he can't go above a certain amount of weight. I believe it's 10 pounds, but I'm not sure if that's true. But there's a clause in there for the weight. So he's already coming in handicapped for this fight. All right. But let's talk about the fighters. Tank Davis, 28 wins, 26 by knockout, no losses, no draws or anything like that. He's 28 years old. He's 5'5". He has a 67-inch reach. All right. And you got Ryan Garcia. He has 23 wins, 19 by knockout, 0 losses, 0 draws. He is 24 years old, and he is 5'10", I believe, with a 70-inch reach. All right, so he's a lot taller, a lot rangier, a lot longer, but it's usually the case for Tank Davis with whoever he fights. They're always taller, they're always longer, for the most part, with the exception of Isaac Cruz. All right, so where should we begin? Now, I love the fight. All right, I love the fight. Even though there's not a title involved, of course, you have Lomachenko fighting Devin Haney next month. Devin Haney is going to be defending the undisputed titles at 135. He's going to be facing off against Lomachenko in another pay-per-view, another fight that we've been wanting to see, which is great. This, on the other hand, is with 2 really popular fighters. I mean, you got Tank he's much more proven and much further in his career. He's won titles in different divisions, and he's got the better resume. He's more proven at a higher level, okay? Now, whether you want to argue whether or not Ryan Garcia is better than all of Tank's opponents, you can make an argument, a strong point that Ryan, even though he doesn't have the resume as Tank has, because he hasn't been fighting longer than Tank, he probably is the most dangerous matchup for Tank Davis up to this point. Okay. And it is a good fight. I made a few videos about this fight already, and I basically expressed, not I wouldn't call it frustration. It's just like it's a different type of fight. Like, this is more on the level of who's more bigger, who's the bigger star. I think Tank has proven as far as the numbers, what he can do as far as pay-per-view, what he could do as far as ticket selling and filling the seats in arenas and stuff like that. He's came up under the tutelage of Floyd Mayweather, and he basically became popular because Floyd did put him on. Things didn't work out. I'm not sure if that's really happening. I don't know what's really happening in the world, but Tank came up as Floyd's protege, right? And now he's one of the biggest names in all of boxing, right? But he has a lot of stuff going on this year in his personal life, or the last couple of years in his personal life. He's supposed to be sentenced, I believe, next month for the hit and run accident that he pleaded guilty for. He's going to be sentenced next month for that. So we don't know if he's going to be doing any time or he's just going to have to pay a huge fee or whatever. I don't know. We just got to wait and see. But he's going to be sentenced shortly after this fight. All right. And then he had the domestic stuff going on earlier this year. And I just want to just say this one thing. I think Tank lives a lifestyle where there's always going to be stuff going on, and I don't really believe that any of this really affects what he's doing in the ring. I think the way he was brought up, and I did watch the All Access. I haven't been watching those for a while, but I was able to sit down and watch them early this morning just to check it out. The All Access special on Showtime was really well put together for Tank and Ryan Garcia. And, I've known his story. I know that he's been through a lot. And I think that I think all the controversy that he has going on in his personal life doesn't really affect what he's doing, And based on the interviews and just his behavior, I think he's acting just as normal that he would ever act. I think mentally, I don't think this disrupts what he's doing in the ring. You know what I'm saying? So all the domestic stuff, all the stuff with, the arrest and all of this stuff, I think that it is wild to us, and we look at it like he should be focused on boxing, but at the same time, I think he's one of these guys that just lived for this shit. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's Tank's story. Now Ryan, on the flip side, Ryan, like I said, hasn't really improved himself to be one of the best, but he is like, a social media popular guy. Maybe he hasn't sold the tickets or did the pay-per-views yet, but on social media, he's popular. He's a pretty boy. A lot of girls like him. He has a bunch of sponsorships and stuff. So he's getting paid big bucks. And even though he has it in the ring for on this level or anywhere near that, outside of the ring, he is already a star. You know what I'm saying? So Ryan, let's go back to 2021. I think, the biggest thing is he was going through depression. So he took a mental health break after the Luke Campbell win. And it's crazy because that was his biggest win. I've talked about this on my channel. Being, coming off of your biggest career win. Yes, you got dropped in that fight, but you got up and you were able to stop him and went looking impressive throughout the remainder of the fight, And for him to take a break, I think it kind of hurts him in the sense that you took a break, you came back and fought a higher weight, and now you're being forced to come right back down to a weight that you haven't fought at in almost 2.5 years. Especially at this age when you're growing. Clearly you're growing. I even noticed a difference in the way that he looks when I was watching the recent Mike Tyson interview he just did on Hot Boxing with Mike Tyson on YouTube. I was watching the interview, some of it the other day, and I realized that it went from the new one to straight to the previous one he did a couple years back. And I realized, like, yo, this kid looks completely different in a couple of years because he's young, but he's growing really, really quick. And you can see the difference in his face, him trying to make weight for this fight. You can see it in his face. Even when he did the Arrival yesterday at the MGM or wherever they at in Las Vegas, you can see the difference. It's kind of similar to how we saw Devin Haney in that second Cambosa. It's not as bad, but you gotta wonder how this weight drain thing is actually affecting him. All right. So look, I did a lot of film study, mostly, from here and there, different dates. I've been watching different fights. But today, this morning, I did most of everything that I needed. For Tank Davis, being that he's a southpaw, I really focused on two specific fights, and it's the Mario Barrios fight, and it's also the Rolly Romero fight. Okay, I know he fought Hector Garcia recently in January. That was his most recent fight. Ryan Garcia, his most recent in his last fight was last year against Javier Fortuna. That was back in July. All right, but he fought Rolly last May, and he fought Hector. I'm talking about Tank. Tank fought Rolly last May, and he then fought Hector Garcia early this January, which Hector Garcia, Ryan Garcia, nothing in common at all. It was pretty much a stay busy against a top 130 pounder. It was a voluntary fight. And the reason why I say Rolly Romero and because and also Mario Barrios. Barrios, I like the height. I like the reach, the jab of Barrios. Barrios is really good at controlling distance. I feel like there's certain things that he do is similar to Ryan, not nearly as quick, as explosive, as powerful. But the height and the reach was the main key thing, and I knew that Barrios did a good job as far as winning early rounds in that fight. All right, so that's the reason why I went back to that fight. But as I'm watching the fight and I'm going back and watching Ryan, I realized that Mario is probably better off at welterweight where he's at now. All right, he beat Santiago and then fought Keith Thurman. I like him better at 147. I just don't think he's as strong at 140. I think he's too drained down there. But with that being said, I like Barrios because I think he's really good at controlling distance. And I think he gave Tank some trouble. All right. But not nearly as dangerous as Ryan Garcia. I think Rolly Romero on the flip side is extremely dangerous, but doesn't have nearly the technique or fundamentals that a Mario Barrios would have, or not even a Ryan Garcia. I think Ryan Garcia, if you take some of the strengths of both fighters or all of the strengths of both fighters, I think he carries a lot of those strengths. But he has his own weaknesses as well, which I will break down. But I do believe that those two fights were key for me when doing the film study. There's a lot of other fights that that Tank has been in that I just feel like it's really completely irrelevant based on the styles and the way that they fight. Okay. Plus, I remember off top how those fights went. I watch Tank fights all the time, even on my free time. I do like Tank a lot. So Ryan, on the other hand, for him to prepare, I will go back, and if you guys want to do this yourselves, I always tell you guys what fights I watch. Ryan, focus mainly on the Javier Fortuna fight. You can go back and dip in and check out a little bit of the Luke Campbell fights, but the reason why I say both, obviously, because they're both southpaws, right? And they're both recent fights. Ryan Garcia against Luke Campbell, not as relevant anymore because Luke, not only, even though him and Tank are southpaws, totally different styles, height and reach. Luke is very tall, rangy guy, not nearly as powerful or aggressive for that matter. I know he did drop Ryan, and yes, you can pick up some flaws in Ryan there, but a lot of those flaws, let me not say a lot, but Ryan has improved dramatically. And if you take a second and just watch like maybe 2 or 3 rounds of the Luke Campbell fight and then flip and watch the Javier Fortuna one, which is the most recent one, you'll see that there's things that Ryan do a lot better. And it's probably because he's with Joe Goosen. He's changed camps. He's changed coaches, right? So with that being said, I would solely focus on the Javier Fortuna because I know Javier is not nearly as good as Tank, but you would get more of you're going to get the more recent Ryan, the Ryan that I'm at least expecting to see against Tank Davis, or probably even a better version. I don't know. We just gotta wait and see how the fight goes that night. All right. So that's what I solely focused on preparing to do this breakdown, and I've gone back and forth, because I really want to see here. And to be honest, up until this morning, because I already placed my bets, and I'll tell you guys at the end. I already did it before I did any film study, because I was so confident in my thoughts. But after doing some film study, and this is why I will never do a breakdown without giving film study, because when you watch it and you rewind things, and you watch things in slow motion, you start picking up things that you forgot or you didn't realize that a fighter does. All right. So the strengths of Tank Davis, obviously extremely powerful, very powerful. I mean, 28 wins, 26 by knockout. There's only 2 fighters that went the distance with him. Okay, one of them recently, which was Isaac Cruz. All right, but extremely powerful, extremely fast. I think he's a very well balanced fighter. Okay, extremely explosive. Quick hands. Knows how to adjust. More technical than people give him credit for. I think people see the knockouts. He's not Devin Haney. He's not Shakur Stevenson. I think that if you watch his fights, you realize that he's fighting a different fight depending on who he's facing. So you watch Tank Davis, you go down his fights, and you watch the Hector Garcia, which is like pretty much a high technical brawl. Both of them are landing. Both of them are trading throughout the entire fight. He stops Hector in his most recent fight. But in a Rolly Romero fight, it was more of a really extremely technical, like both guys are being patient. Both guys are setting up every shot. Both guys are trying to land a bomb, and they're both waiting on each other. They're both countering. I'm not saying we didn't get that with Hector, but it's just that Tank, I'm trying to explain, like, Tank is different depending on who he faces. Leo, not much respect for his power, obviously, so he's fighting Leo, and he's getting hit all over the place. He's not even trying to have defense in that fight. But when he fights Rolly Romero, or when he fights a Mario Barrios, he's more cautious. He's just not taking everything that's thrown at him. So Tank, up to this point in his career, he's been very durable. All right, so you can tell the difference on who he respects and who he doesn't. Isaac Cruz, go to that fight. A lot of lateral movement in that fight. A lot of pivoting and turning Isaac Cruz. Same thing with Rolly Romero. A lot of lateral movement. He's moving all around the ring. He's using the entire ring more than we've ever seen him before. So it really all depends on who he faces and how he chooses to fight him. So he can adjust to whatever. Good counter puncher. Again, I mean, he does almost everything well. Defensively, obviously, I think defensively is his biggest flaws, depending on the fight. I don't think he's great at defense, but I think depending on, and I think this is going to be a fight where he's going to be extremely as defensive as he can be, because he doesn't want to run into the wrong shot, especially early on. A lot of people say like guys like Usyk or Lomachenko like to download information and figure these guys out. Like a lot of fighters like to do that they'll give away a few rounds. Tank has done that. He has done that with Barrios. All right, he has done that with Rolly Romero. He likes to get all the information in before he goes on the attack. And I think this is going to be that kind of fight where he's probably down on points because he's not throwing much. He wants to just avoid and evade everything you're throwing. So I think Tank Davis early on in this fight is going to take that approach because he's fighting someone bigger, someone fast, extremely fast, and someone that's extremely powerful. One punch can change the fight, at least up to this point. Again, Ryan didn't fight anyone near Tank's level, and Tank has shown us to be very durable at this point. So everyone Ryan stopped is nowhere near on Tank's level at this point. But he still ain't going to walk in there with a guy like Ryan Garcia. And to add to that, based on Tank's interviews, he's clearly taking Ryan very seriously. I mean, he could say what he wants. They could talk trash to each other all they want. But he clearly is taking this fight very, very seriously. And I mean, he's probably taking it more serious than any other fight he's been in. Okay, so he definitely respects Ryan. If he didn't, he wouldn't be asking for the catch weight. He wouldn't be asking for a rehydration clause. You know, he wouldn't be asking all of that if he felt like Ryan wasn't that dangerous. He would have fought Ryan at 140, same place he fought Mario Barrios, without a catch weight, with no problem. You know, but he's not doing that. He clearly respects Ryan as a talent. All right. So I think with what I think with Tank Davis, defensively, I think those are where his flaws are. As I'm doing film study, I realized that Tank lunges a lot because he's shorter and he doesn't have a long reach. So he does good at closing distance, especially with his lead hand. He's always probing. You know, he'll switch into a high guard and a very active high guard because he's still doing a lot with his hands. He's pulling, he's probing, he's parrying shots. He's doing a lot of things, but he's also feinting. You know, he's changing levels a little bit. You know, and the feinting, the key thing is the feinting. And I think that's going to be an issue for Ryan Garcia because no one that I've seen Ryan fought has on a level was doing it like the way Tank did, you know. And another key thing that I forgot to mention is about the angles that Tank bring. You gotta watch the angles. He has power in both hands. All right. And the one key thing with Tank Davis, you cannot do anything. You can't do the same thing too many times. Not twice, not three times. Leo Santa Cruz knows, not even twice. And I'll explain why. Tank Davis, he uses Philly shell a lot. And a lot of times when he's using his when he's using his right hand, I believe his right hand to block punches. All right. If you throw a right hand at Tank and you follow up with a left hand, most likely you can connect. I saw it with Rolly. Rolly landed it a few times in the fight. Maybe the earlier rounds that people feel that he won. Boom, Rolly will come in, throw the right hand. Tank will block it, right? But then Tank will block it with his left hand, but then the jab will follow up and he'll get caught with it, you know? And I think that is a problem. The problem is, though, he did it too much. And it got to a point where I saw Tank maybe in the fifth round, because I was just watching it. In the fifth round, he slips it and pivots and turns around and steps around Rolly. But the last time he did it is when Rolly came in, right? He threw a jab, he threw the right hand, and he tried to throw the jab again as he stepped in. And that's when Tank slipped the jab and countered him with the right hook and put him down. You know what I'm saying? The right hand, I'm sorry, it wasn't a hook. But I think he put him down, and that's what ended the fight. And it reminded me of the Leo Santa Cruz fight. You know, Leo is in range, very close in range, throws a right hand, throws another right hand, hits him in the first one, throws another one, and then throws a third. Tank slipped it, hit him with a monster uppercut. Do not do the same thing over and over again because you have to constantly switch it up. This guy is downloading the information. You know what I'm saying? And that's exactly why, you know, these guys get knocked out the way they do. You know, because they feel like whatever's working for them is going to connect. They want to hurt. You got to just keep switching it up, you know. And that's what Tank is really good at, you know. I mean, even with the flaws, those are the things, you know, that jab after the right hand. I've seen Ryan do it with Javier Fortuna. I was watching it this morning. Javier Fortuna, he jumped in, threw a right hand, landed the right hand, threw the right hand, and threw the left hand right after the jab. And I think he either dropped Fortuna with one of those or it was just a really big shot that he buckled Fortuna with. So he's going to go for it. My thing is don't do it too much. Don't do it too much because Tank will slip that shit, counter you with something heavy that you don't see coming, and you'll be knocked out. All right. Ryan Garcia. Like I said earlier, changing with Joe Goosen, better understanding and better at controlling distance. He's always had foot positioning issues. I brought this up in other videos. All right. Lead foot. He's always on the inside. You know, he's throwing certain shots from the inside. It keeps him off balance. Sometimes he's throwing punches where he's off balance. You can see it a lot in the Luke Campbell fight. Definitely a problem. All right. But he's doing better. He's done better. If you look at the Fortuna fight, he knows how to not lunge in and reach in so far from the outside. Yes, he still does the same issue with his lead foot, but he knows how to stay out of range much better. And he's much more patient than he was before. Fortuna against Campbell, two different versions of the guy. He knows how to shoot that jab from outside where he's not in range to get countered so easily. You'll notice right away. So when he's popping that jab or even when he's throwing the right hand, yeah, his foot is a little bit in the inside, but he's a little further out where it's not so easy to counter him with a right hook from the outside like Luke was doing. Not saying that it won't be done, but he's doing better at that. Another thing too is the left hook. We already know how quick the left hook is. He probably might have the best left hook in all of boxing. All right, at least one of them up there. Extremely fast, extremely powerful. He knocked down Fortuna with a punch that was so fast you can't see it unless you slow the video down. All right. I remember watching the fight live, maybe from the angle we was watching it. I didn't see it, but even when you see it from the same angle in real time, you won't see the punch unless you slow it down. That's how quick that left hook is, okay? And that's a signature punch. But you can't sleep on a straight right hand. The straight right hand is deadly too, man. He will knock you out with that punch as well. Now I don't think he has a level of angles that Tank has. I think Tank can definitely do a lot more, especially when he's slipping and countering. Ryan's a very good counter, especially with the left hand. But you also you can't sleep on the right, and not just with the straight right hand, the lead right hand. I'm talking about watch those quick step backs and those pull counters with the right hand as well. I seen that when Javier would try to press him and charge forward, Ryan will take quick step back and shoot the right hand as he's moving straight. Now I know it's a problem because he's always moving straight forward or he's always moving straight back, and that might be an issue when it comes to Tank Davis, but he knows how to. He normally doesn't move laterally unless he's trying to set the check left hook. Normally he's moving it straight, but even if he's moving straight back, you got to watch the right hand that might come because he's very quick and he could do it while taking a step back. You don't want to walk into one of those thinking that you always got to be prepared and ready for the check hook. You know what I'm saying? Because that punch is just as powerful. So at the end of the day, Ryan Garcia has improved in certain areas. I think he needs to still move laterally a little bit. I think with Tank Davis, he still might have issues with that. But at the end of the day, he's definitely improved in certain areas. As far as like his inside game, like if the fight gets to a point where Tank starts to walk him down, or it becomes where they start fighting on the inside a little bit, it might be a little issue for Ryan Garcia because he doesn't normally fight on the inside. He likes to have space, and he's become better at controlling distance, which is good. I think he easily wins early rounds against Tank because all he has to do is keep Tank on the end of his jab, right? And throw those right hands and throw the check left hooks as well. So all he needs to do really is keep Tank out of range. But it's easier said than done. It's easier because Tank is going to slowly, and not only that, but the jab, the thing with Ryan Garcia and his jab, has a good jab. But what happens when a fighter is taking a jab away from you? What happens when a fighter is throwing hooks behind a jab or he's touching your lead hand with his lead hand? That's what Tank normally does against these jabbers. You can see that in the Barrios fight. You can see it in the Rolly Romero fight. So Ryan, the problem I have with Ryan here is that even though he has a phenomenal right hand, all right, straight right hand, he has a phenomenal left hook. The thing is, I don't think he has as many tools. I don't think he's as balanced. And defensively, I didn't even get there. Defensively, still has flaws, right? He's very upright. Chin is in there, up in the air sometimes. Especially when not as bad before Goosen. All right, but now I still think that if there's a point, I feel like Ryan has to play it safe the entire fight. And I don't know if he can do that. Especially if he's feeling himself after being up a few rounds or after landing a few big shots. Is he going to stay disciplined the entire fight? Because this is the thing. Ryan needs to stick to the game plan. I know he wants a knockout. These guys are talking knockouts, knockouts like this. Tank being shorter and not having the shorter with the reach and everything, he has to do more work to get in. And he has an issue with lunging in sometimes. Ryan, keep on the end of the jab. Let Tank lunge in. Counter him with the left hook. Don't get greedy. The thing is, whatever Ryan is doing in order to win rounds offensively, he can't keep repeating because Tank is going to adjust to whatever you're doing. Ryan, on the other hand, I haven't really seen him at a level where he made an adjustment. I'm not saying he's not capable of doing it, but I haven't seen him do it, and he hasn't fought at anyone like that's on a level as Tank. You get what I'm saying? So I am going to be learning a lot about Ryan in this fight here, because outside of the Luke Campbell fight, once he won that fight, I felt like he was at the level to fight the best at the division, but I still wasn't sure of what he can do against the best fighters in the division. Some people may argue that same argument with Tank, even though Tank has fought better fighters. Some people still say that, well, he didn't fight Haney yet, or he didn't fight Shakur, or he hasn't fought Lomachenko. You know what I'm saying? So or Teofimo Lopez when he was at 135. So some people may say, well, Tank didn't fight the best neither. And that's cool. But Tank still fought way better than Ryan, which doesn't mean everything either. Because I still think, and after doing film study, I still believe that Ryan probably is the most dangerous fighter. Ryan has to fight a well-disciplined fight the entire time. Forget knockouts and all of that stuff. The knockout will come because you have the power to do it. But you got to fight a disciplined fight because that knockout, those hooks that you landed on guys and dropped them with, or the right hands, Tank might not go down as easy as those guys because we haven't seen it done by anyone. Even the guys that clock Tank over the head and hit him with nice hard shots like Rolly Romero, very powerful fighters like him. So Tank has to do more as far as fighting a more well-disciplined fight. Tank, we've seen him get touched up. Ryan, we've seen him hurt before. We've seen him drop before by lower level fighters. You know what I'm saying? So I think Ryan, as far as discipline, he needs to fight well. I think the advantages go to him as far as dimensions, and that kind of thing. But Tank always finds a way. And how long can you keep going by doing everything right? I don't know. Tank, on the other hand, you never know. Maybe he never truly figures out Ryan. I think Ryan. Now, let me just give you my prediction. And then we're going to get out of here. I'll hold you this 30 minutes. Held you guys long enough. I think Tank is going to win the fight. I put all my money on him winning by stoppage. I think as good as Ryan is, Tank has too many tools, too many angles, too much experience. And I think Ryan is going to make a mistake. He's going to get clipped. And it doesn't matter if he's in a lead. I think up until the fight is stopped, Ryan's going to be winning this fight. Not based on just like him beating up Tank. Just because he's better at controlling distance. He's going to be throwing more punches. He's just going to be more active than Tank. Tank is going to be avoiding his shots. But at some point, it might be with a lead right hook from Tank. It could be from any kind of counter. I just think that Tank has so many different things that he can do to offset Ryan's offense that at some point he's going to catch him with something and hurt him and end up getting him out of there. And if there's a point where Tank is going to start walking Ryan down like he did against Mario Barrios, then the fight is really going to be over. I have Tank winning this by stoppage. I think that it's going to be later in the fight. I was originally thinking Tank wins maybe within 6, but I'm thinking now a little later because I think Tank is going to be fighting an extremely cautious fight. Now, I told you I put my money on Tank winning by knockout. I am going to hedge it a little bit, slightly, like a fifth of what I placed for Tank to beat Ryan on a Ryan win straight up. Not by KO, because I think that Tank has given up a lot of rounds in his fights, and I just don't trust him winning if this goes to the cards. So if it does happen to go to the cards and Ryan makes it to the end, I want some money in there to make up for the loss that I would take. So I'm gonna go with Tank by knockout, heavy, like low hedge with Ryan winning straight up, not by knockout. I think most of us had said when this fight was announced, somebody's getting KO'd. Well, I honestly believe that it's a chance that if it does go to the cards, I think that Ryan has a good chance of winning if he can survive to the end. And just based off activity, I think he might win by knockout or on points. All right, so that's the way I'm looking at it. But yeah, I don't have a specific round really. I'm thinking more like 8th, 9th round, probably something like that. But I got Tank winning this one by KO. All right, so I will be here this Saturday. I'm gonna be doing live commentary like I normally do, but it will be a fight party. I'm gonna have an actual party here. I'm gonna have people here, so I will be giving commentary, but we're gonna be having fun at the same time. So I will be live Saturday, so definitely check me out. And if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. And I'll see you guys on my next video. Peace.